right, welcome back. Another episode of Thrones Be the Game. House of Dragons Season 2, Episode 3, The Burning Mill is the name of the episode. Before we even get started, I want to give a big shout out to Scott. He's got some personal things going on, but wanted to definitely, keep him in our prayers and everything or whatnot, man. So, all right. Where do we start here? So we start here with we're in the Riverlands, the Brackens and the Blackwoods going at it. If you remember in season 1, little boy that ran up on when he said I could be with her.
Yep, and killed him, right?
Yeah, killed him
in court while they were trying to court Rhaenyra on her tour, right? And I thought it was excellent. It was. Oh man, this episode was great. It was alluded to, but not fully fleshed out like in the books, that these two houses have been feuding for centuries and really nobody knows why, right? But the fact that they portrayed all of them when mentioned during the season 1 and season 2, they're so young. They're all so young. They are boys, and you can see the hesitancy and, kind of posturing up with one another. And hey, yeah, kinslayer, and well, what you say? And your uncle is the false king, and or your father declared for the false king, and it showed the aftermath of what we know was a brutal scuffle, kerfuffle, as they call it. But it just really well. Subtly played out, but laying the groundwork for what's to come.
Yeah, because the first character was William, was the kid that we saw there, but he was representing the Blackwoods, and that wasn't him, and that was killed before he killed Sam Blackwood. Sam Black is based on Lord Samuel Blackwood from the books.
Yes,
but. I was wondering. I was like, man, is that the same kid? I was like, no, this is some different characters that they just trying to tie back together.
Yeah, just trying to bring it back to the forefront of your mind so you can know who it is and call back to last season. That house was represented last season.
Yeah, and it shows you like this reminded me like World War I, where it was just random people fighting, and then somebody else has got to just join in with the other crew because that's who I roll with. And that's who I'm allegiance to. And then now you just have this bigger war because these two other people don't like each other. I got to have my allegiance to them. Got to have my allegiance to them. And it felt like that. Like they were sitting there with four different sets of people talking, arguing. And then we get a full scale battle from it.
And everybody's dead. And they mentioned it in Aegon's council that said, hey, Aegon said, well, it's a victory for us. And was it the Lannister brother? Who's I can't remember the brother's name.
He's one of the twins.
Right. He's like, well, we suffered such a great loss. Can we declare it a victory? But so it's kind of dropping those breadcrumbs for you to be like, yeah, this is the cost of a civil war, a war between dragons, a war between families, to burn the earth down. This is the repercussion of it.
Yeah, because it's interesting as you go forward, we get to see. So, of course, Criston Cole has decided he's going to go after Harrenhal, and so is Daemon. And is it because when is it where we were I guess later on in our updated version of Game of Thrones, that's when we really know that Harrenhal is haunted and nobody messes with it then. But people fully weren't invested into it being that bad at this time. I'm assuming it was like, oh, it's kind of creepy, but.
Yeah, it was a really interesting scene. So, after last episode, Daemon hops on Caraxes, and now the casual viewer knows that he was headed to Harrenhal, and he shows up to Harrenhal, and there's no resistance when he lands on his big bad dragon. He's walking around looking for somebody to fight, looking for anybody to engage with. It's dreary. It's wet. It is. He doesn't see anyone until just a random guard just kind of crosses past, and of course he knocks him out, but opens the door, and there are the strongs who are in lieu of the Lord Tully having dinner. He's like, "Hey, I'm here to take over Harrenhal in the name of Rhaenyra." And they're like, "Okay, sure. We bend the knee, and you want to come eat? Like, we're just chilling."
Hey, remember the Cosby Show episode where they had like the little fantasy thing, and they went there, and it was and they went to go take over the lands, and they were like, "No, cool, let's dance." When they went to go take.
You are aging me in front of all these people on Beyonce's internet. But yes, I remember that episode.
It felt like that, didn't it? It felt like that.
This felt like that. This felt like that. Oh my goodness. It was so strange. It was so strange. But like you said, that strong representative was saying, like, we hold no fealty to Lyris Clubfoot, we don't really mess with him. We don't rock with him like that. And Daemon was like, well, why not? And he said, listen, Dragonfire burned this place down
the first
centuries ago. We find it hard to light a fire in the middle of the summertime. It is so damp here. So how did a fire take out Harwin and his father? So we don't rock with him at all. So yes, please come sit. The castle's yours. The castle's yours.
You got it. He was almost mad at them for not fighting. He was mad at them for not fighting, for not putting
Daemon was spoiling for a fight. He was ready. He was juiced up. He was amped up, had all that adrenaline flowing. He just fought with his wife. He feel like he right. He went all that way on Dragonback only to be met with no resistance and a pitiful meal at that.
But then we see that he maybe did get poisoned or something, or he got some psychedelics, maybe putting some in his food.
I think it's the place. I think it's Harrenhal.
Because it's the place.
And we were introduced to Alice Rivers.
Yes.
She is again just a little bit of background. In the books, she's referred to as a witch, right? Not a seer, but a witch who practices, dabbles in the dark arts. And if you noticed when Daemon came into that area where they were eating, she was there. She didn't bow. She just stood right there staring at him like, yeah, okay, yep, come on in. And then she appeared to him in a vision. I think, okay, I'm gonna come back to this part, but she appeared to him in a vision. She said, you're gonna die here. You're gonna die here. And if you notice, did you notice the weirwood tree?
That's what he was next to when he came out of his trance.
Yes. And so, but prior to that vision, we were treated to a vision of young Rhaenyra, right? Played by Millie Alcock. She's sewing the head back on to Jay Harris. And she basically said, I'm here to clean up your mess, basically as usual. And I found it really interesting that the flashback to his niece wife was her in her younger version, her younger years, and not the version that we know today. So that was very interesting, but perhaps the souls, the spirits of Harrenhal haunting him. So should we tell everybody kind of why Harrenhal has been rumored to be haunted?
Go ahead.
Okay. So back in the day with Aegon the Conqueror and his two sister wives, just Aegon, he showed up to Harrenhal to get the Lord of Harrenhal.
Also, you got to remember, Daemon tried to come in just like Aegon did. I don't know if you noticed that.
Yes.
Like the way he tried to fly in the same way. Like
yes, which is why
he was the same armor. Like
he was really pissed off that he didn't get to use his living nuclear weapon over here. Because ain't nobody here. It's dark. It's cold. It's wet. Like, what's going on? So Aegon the Conqueror went there to. Back in the day, the Westeros had 7 kingdoms, right? And the Lord of Harrenhal, I can't recall his name, it will come to me later, but he was kind of the king of them all until Aegon showed up and was like, hey, yeah, so I'm Aegon and would like for you to kneel, bend the knee. And the Lord was like, yeah, no, I'm not going to do it. And Aegon's like, yeah, I got this big dragon. And he's like, so what? I got a castle made of stone, and fire doesn't melt stone, it melts wood. And Aegon said, but see, I got all these other lords that hate you over here. And so now they are ready to go to war. And the Lord was like, well, I'll just stay here and wait out the siege.
Yep.
And Aegon says, basically, your line's going to end here today. And I'll see you in a minute. And then he came back the next day with what's the biggest, baddest dragon on the planet? Balerion, the Black Dread.
Black Dread. And
burned down Harrenhal. And it turns out dragon fire melts even rock and stuff.
Exactly.
And so all of the people who died in there are rumored to haunt Harrenhal. So that's where the lore comes from. That's where, why it is so, and it's expensive to maintain. Nobody can rebuild it because it's huge. It's enormous. So that's where the lore comes in, why it may be haunted, with who it may be haunted, which is the line of the Lord of Harrenhal at the time. And they never rebuilt it. Too costly. And it was at that time that the Tullys were instated as lords of the River Run. So at that point in time, the Tullys, once Aegon wiped out the Lord of Harrenhal and his line, he instated the Tully family. So Catelyn Stark was a Tully, right? So, all right, just a little bit of background.
Yeah, and then this weird stuff that happens there. I mean, if you go farther into the lore, Aegon the Fourth dies there mysteriously in a fire, and like him and his whole family are killed, like in Harrenhal, and I think that's the last time that people was like, yo, you know what, we good on this.
Yeah,
like, it wiped out a whole family.
And just to wrap it back to Game of Thrones, Harrenhal is where Arya, Gendry, and Hot Pie were captured and taken to when Tywin Lannister showed up and says, hey, look, that's a girl. That's a girl. Yep. And he made Arya his cupbearer. That was at Harrenhal. Yep. Just a little bit of a background.
But people still, but it's also strategically like in the middle of the Riverlands. So it's like you need to have it, but you don't need to have it. It's like a weird thing it's
a decrepit seat of power.
Yeah, so then we know that now on the other flip side, we know that Criston Cole is going after Harrenhal as well, but he says he's going to take a small force to there and try to use speed. I don't know what that meant. I guess I knew he kind of mean like we can move and maneuver around, but like they said, they got a whole bunch of dragons out there. Why would you even think that that'd be a good plan?
God, Criston Cole, the literal definition of like failing upwards, right? He keeps messing up his job and he keeps getting promoted. We call that the Peter principle. You get promoted to the level of your incompetence, and therefore you bottleneck the system and nobody can come up underneath you. But if you see Criston Cole at the beginning, he's walking through the castle as he's preparing to go to the council meeting, and he notices all these new knights who are just really kind of lounging around. They're chilling. They're not standing at attention. They're joking. They're kicking it amongst themselves. He walks into and he's looking around like, who are these? And why are they not to code, right? Why are they not standing at attention? Why are they not doing what they're supposed to be doing? And he walks into the council room, and literally there's another white cloak just leaning up against the wall. He looks at him and still doesn't make any move to do anything. So when Criston says, I've noticed a lot of new faces, Aegon says, I replaced them all basically with his frat buddies, right? All his frat buddies.
All the guys he was hanging with during Blood and Cheese.
Yes, the sycophants who only are here to pump Aegon up, but haven't been versed in what they're actually supposed to be doing. And so I found that to be interesting because we know what you say, Sir Bitchton Cole. The messiest of bitches, but he was actually trained how to be a knight. He's dismissing all of that training just to get at Alicent, to get at Rhaenyra, but he knows what the right protocol is to be in that station, and he's looking around like, I didn't vet them. Like, who are these people? Who are they?
And they talking reckless, like, yeah, we finna go
reckless.
When they were because was Criston wasn't there, and they was talking about we finna go drink and watch Sanchez lose the virginity.
But you're sworn to chastity. And they're right. Like, yeah. Oh, right. Yeah, right. Yeah. Right.
Yeah,
Right.
you're right. My bad.
Right. So just an indication of how unprepared they are. And even in the council meeting, the lords were kind of arguing amongst themselves, jockeying for position. And even you could tell in Alicent's demeanor that she's like, the council that my father oversaw would never have allowed this kind of reckless energy, this kind of scattered thought, scattered talking. We have a goal. We need to stay focused. This is what we need to do. And you guys are coming up with ideas, and none of them sound good. And the hand is supposed to moderate that and be the voice of reason and very measured and strategic. And Criston is none of those things. None of those things. And you see it kind of devolve from there, which, eventually will lead to what it leads to, but he's not prepared. He's not ready for this.
Yeah, he just looking around. He's watching everything. It's like, huh, okay.
And he gives credence to Aegon's worst impulses, and he's not smart enough to be able to check those impulses, to be able to fact check them, and to explain the reasons why this may be a bad idea and why this might be present another option. This may be a better idea. He's just not seasoned in that way. The only thing he's done is mess up, and now he's rewarded with a position of great honor and confidentiality, and people are looking to him to be able to guide them through what is inevitably coming, and he just doesn't have the tool set to do it.
That's why I think he left, though, actually, and tried to go out into battle. He doesn't want to do that stuff. So he's like, you know what? Let me go out here, and I don't want to deal with that. So because he basically stays in battle for the rest of this whole thing. He never really comes back to King's Landing.
But he's also a glory whore, right? He's also a glory seeker.
That's true too.
So he's not self-aware enough to understand that he's unqualified for this job. He only is concerned with glory for himself and his twisted sense of honor, and loyalty and fealty to his sworn king at this time, which is Aegon, right? And you have to remember the place where this was born from. He's a scorned lover. He's a scorned lover. So at this point, whatever method in his mind that makes sense to strike out and hurt Rhaenyra the most, that's what he's going with. You can't convince him otherwise. That's what he's going with. So could be 6 eggs in one hand, half a dozen in the other.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, man, I'm do better in battle. I just do better in battle. I'm not this meeting stuff. And then Aegon's trying to take out Sunfire, his dragon, and everybody was like, hey, no, that's not a good idea.
He said, I'm just as fierce as all of them. And everybody at the table literally looked somewhere else. Some of them took a drink oh. All while his brother was sitting there at the table, who is the writer of Vhagar, right? Mm-hmm. And even that was so cool. Aemond is sitting there in the council meeting during that time, just kind of watching the interplay. He's listening and watching to his mother. He's listening and watching to his brother. He's listening to all the lords and maesters squabble amongst themselves. And when he says, I'm just as fierce as the rest of them, that's his window, right? That's his window. So you shouldn't risk yourself. And no need for, basically, this went without saying, Vhagar doesn't need to protect the city. Vhagar is a war dragon. Vhagar is not, just a brand new to age fighting dragon. A fighting age is what they call him. Vhagar is the best, biggest, baddest war dragon in the game. Don't keep me on the bench. And okay, I'm just going to really just lay it out for y'all to play it out. And they don't get it. But eventually, Larys comes in and says, hey, man, Street's been talking. Streets say you a bitch. The streets say you are. And, I don't know who said it. Doesn't matter who said it. But the streets are talking. And, we need to deal with that. And I can deal with that. And so Aegon says, hey, my father never had the need for a master of whisperers, but I find myself needing one. You want the job? That's all Larys needed. That's all he needed.
And that's all he wanted.
Mm-hmm. Streets saying you a bitch, homie. Like, what's good? Let me take care of it for you.
Like, who said it? The streets, the proverbial, like you said, the proverbial streets.
Them
Don't matter who.
They said. Streets.
Yeah, so with Aegon and Larys, because Larys is technically the Lord of Harrenhal, even though he's not there, right? Because his father and brother
and his father are dead, which is why the steward was like, we don't rock with him at all. So technically that's his title, but nobody rock with him in Harrenhal.
Okay, yeah, that's what I was thinking. But I'm like, well, you're not even there. You wanted to do all this, and you still wanted to be a King's Land. I thought you wanted to run your area, but nobody. Maybe he don't like being at Harrenhal either. So,
well, he knows that don't nobody mess with him. He was, because think about it. He was the second born son. And he had an infirmity, the clubfoot, right? So not only are you the second born son, you have a physical ailment, which in this projection is considered weak. So he doesn't know how to run Harrenhal. He only knows how to manipulate to get what he wants, right?
Good point, man. So is we let's go back to since we showed the council with Aegon, Rhaenyra's council is similar. She's similar, and it's somewhat they're in disarray as well, because they're saying like, hey, we need to be hitting them. We got all these dragons. Let's go. And it's like gun shy. She's just like, and it's not because she doesn't want. It's like she's not making any decision. She's just literally sitting in the middle, not saying like I want to try to do this peacefully or try to go to war. She literally just sitting there like almost wanting them to make the decision of them attacking first. Of like, y'all made me do this.
It's a really interesting display of restraint, consideration, anger simmering beneath the surface. And I'm very curious. My question before I dive in is, why hasn't she appointed a hand? Her hand should technically be Rhaenys, right? Mm-hmm. Rhaenys is the steadying presence for her. Remember, Rhaenys was born and trained for all of this too. She was passed over, so she has the knowledge, and she's older than Rhaenyra. She's been at it a little bit longer. She kind of has all the answers, but she doesn't want to overstep Rhaenyra. And you hear it in the interplay with Rhaenys when they were burying the twins. Basically, Rhaenys said, looks like hotter blood has prevailed. And, when dragons go to war, the whole world burns. It's, and then Rhaenyra repeated that back in her council the second time. She says, the threat of having dragons in of itself should be enough to thwart overt attempts at grabbing power recklessly. But now that dragons have actively been involved in events that have started the war, then I fear we may have no choice but to use the dragons. And Rhaenys made a great point. She says, well, what started the war? And Rhaenyra said, when the pretender usurped my throne. And Rhaenys said, or it was when the prince was beheaded. Or it was when Lucerys took Aemon's eye. Or it was this other thing. Like, back to the Brackens and the Blackwoods, they've been at war so long, they don't know what started it. They have no idea what started it. They said it in the show, lost to time. We don't know. And so Rhaenys was making a great point, very subtly, that, you think the war started when Viserys died and Alicent and Otto installed Aegon to the throne, but they may see it as, hey, the war started when your kid sliced out Aemon's eye. Your family may feel like, and I know she was speaking very cloaked, because she's thinking in her head, for her, the war started when they faked the death of Laenor, her own son. So everybody has an interpretation of what started the war, right? and she's being very, very light-handed and trying to kind of teach her and show her without telling it overtly, right? But it was a great scene. Rhaenyra needs a hand, and I'm surprised it wasn't Rhaenys, but Rhaenys is still keeping order. Those bickering lords who really want her just to retire, to go secret herself away, and let them make all the decisions. Oh God, it's the patriarchy is the signs of patriarchy running rampant is all over the place. So I'm not going to dive into my girls could rule the world if y'all let us, but it could be also perceived as inaction, which you just said, because she is the polar opposite of her brother. Aegon is like, yeah, whatever idea sounds good, go do that. Rhaenyra is actually considering all of the consequences and everything that could play out based on what action she takes. And what does she take? Go ahead. I know that's what your next question is.
Yeah. So she goes to see Alicent, and Alicent basically told her, hey, look here, bitch, that none of that shit matters. We still got this crown. It was a longer scene than that, but that's basically what Alicent said. Bitch, it don't matter. We here now. You are what was it? I forgot what movie. I remember this line. He was like, if we gonna die on that lie. Oh no, from The Wire. And it was like when he was like I forgot what character it is, and he's like, we gonna die if that's a lie. We gonna die on it. I think it's Slim Charles. He said, if it's a lie, we gonna die on that lie.
We're gonna die with the lie.
Yeah,
or something similar.
We're gonna die on that lie. Like we fought behind that lie. It is what it is. And that's what Alicent said to her. Like, we gonna die on that lie. That's what it is.
Until Alicent realized that she fucked up everything. Until she realized that she was wrong. I feel like you could see it.
What's up, y'all? This is RVS.
This is ROD, aka Rated R.
We are the We Coming For You cast, and we talk about pro wrestling from a black dude's perspective. Tell them what they can expect on this here podcast.
Oh, we gonna give you all the raw and dirty and everything black from AEW, WWE, Impact Wrestling, and any other wrestling in between. If you want your wrestling unfiltered, uncensored, and you want it raw, you need to subscribe to the We Coming For You cast.
Right here on SOLC Network.
In real time, the exact moment that Alicent realized, in this instance, she knew that she had fucked up, right? Let's kind of back up just a little bit. Rhaenyra talking to Mysaria, Mysaria asking for a place on her court, basically as the Master of Whisperers, right? Yep. She's known as the White Worm. She's very familiar with King's Landing. She's the one who said, there's one place that Alicent goes outside of the castle, and that is to the Sept. And they make a plan to basically smuggle Rhaenyra in a septa costume, serving that face. Oh my goodness! No, listen. She's like, oh, they won't recognize me, and Mysaria was like, you'd be surprised. The common people don't recognize women who don't clothe themselves in royal garments, or women who don't make themselves alluring to men. Basically, if you just put on a hoodie and some sweatpants, nobody's going to know who you are. But I'm looking at her walk in there, and I'm like, that face, serving the face. Yes, loved it. And so she met Alicent in the Sept in what may go down in one of the most beautifully shot scenes. We've had a lot, but this was amazing. Just the interplay between the two of them, how she pulled out that shank real quick, and Alicent's like, well, hold on. She's maybe we should start again. And so in the familiarity that they eventually find themselves falling into, and Rhaenyra is like, we can stop this war. We can stop this war. And Alicent's like, no, nothing can be done. Nothing can be done. And so you see them talking, and you see everything kind of unfolding. And it seems to me that Rhaenyra was finally getting to the point where she was just like, maybe he did change his mind. Maybe he did. did he say my name? Did he speak of me in the end? Because I was with him that night and he affirmed my position. Maybe what you say is true. I know he loved me and he really even loved you. But what did he say? Did she wanted comfort in that moment? Did her father speak her name? And Alicent said he was weary. It was hard at that point to really to make sense of anything he was saying, but he mentioned Aegon's name. And he said that he was the prince that was promised. And Rhaenyra was like, bitch, what? What? Are you kidding me? Like, she's like, he mentioned that to you? He mentioned the song, the prophecy? That particular phrase. He mentioned the prophecy. He mentioned the Song of Ice and Fire to you? And Alicent, in her naivete, this is why you got to know your people. This is why you got to, if you marrying into a family, you got to know everything about them. You got to know what they believe in. You got to, understand where they coming from, where they've been, where they trying to go to. Because Alicent had no idea. It went right over her head, right? Because she wasn't privy to that information. And the minute Rhaenyra heard that, she seized on it. She was like, there's been a mistake made. He was talking about a prophecy. He used to tell me this story all the time. She said he was talking about Aegon the Conqueror. And you saw Alicent say, Aegon, she stuttered. She stuttered over it. The Conqueror? Mm-hmm. Oh, I done fucked up.
Yep.
But now.
Because you started all this.
Because she heard what she wanted to hear in the moment. And the show also, too, downplays Alicent's ambition in the show. In the books, her ambition was bold, bald for everyone to see. Book Alicent wouldn't have misinterpreted it. She'd have known exactly what he was talking about, and she'd have used that instance to install her son anyway. The show wants us to believe that she had no idea. She thought he changed his mind in the last 10 minutes of his life after he'd been proclaiming Rhaenyra to be his sole heir to the throne for the last 25 years. She heard what she wanted to hear in that instance. But I find it interesting how the show is attempting to make Alicent a kinder, gentler soul. And in the book, she was a mean, conniving old wench. I said it, wench.
Yeah, do they or you think they're doing that to show her juxtaposition to Aegon, where it's like she can't control this no more, and it's like
partly yes. And two, I know we're kind of jumping a little bit back, but her interaction with Helena this episode, where Helena was making a statement. She's like, I find that I miss Jaehaerys, but I really shouldn't, because poor people lose their kids too. And what makes me special? But when the small folk were looking at me, looking down on me, thinking I have no right to grief. And Alicent says, you have every right to grief as everybody else does. This very small interaction of mother and daughter almost finally humanizes Alicent to the viewers, to the audience. It's the one real true interaction we have with them, and I don't know if it'll be the last interaction we have with them that garners some genuine empathy from mother to daughter. And she did say, I don't count the toll to everyone else. I count the toll it has on you. And then Helena hit her with the, I forgive you. Alicent said, what? Well, she forgot all about it, but Helena didn't. Helena said, I forgive you. Now, what did she forgive her mother for? Doesn't matter. We can make up 59,000 reasons, but we know it's the one reason. It's the one reason she forgives her, for not protecting me, for not protecting my children, because you were busy doing other things with that weirdo who done ran off, with my uncle. We didn't talk about Sir Gawain.
Yes, Sir Gawain, who's a wild boy.
So yeah, I think that humanizes Alicent and Helena a lot, and it gave a deeper dive to their relationship. And for all we know, they're mended. They're okay. They're fine. I mean, not fine, but Alicent can kind of recover from the misstep.
and you already introduced it, but Sir Gawain, her younger brother, steps on the scene. Criston Cole gets a haircut.
He got a haircut. He still's a bitch, but he got a haircut.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. But I wonder if he's like, me being the hand of the king, I got to be looking different if I'm the hand, and or is it a battle haircut?
Both. I'm gonna say both. I got a promotion that I'm not qualified for.
I got a promotion.
I'm about to go to battle, and I'm about to ask the queen for her favor before I ride out into battle. So all of the above.
Let me get a haircut, nice little haircut. And Sir Gawain, so that's her younger brother. He came in, he already knows he's smelling fishy because Daddy done told me, you the dude, you the hand of the king, you.
It was so shady. It was the level of petty that I aspire to be in my real life. Okay. Oh, imagine my surprise when I passed my father on the road after being away for 3 months and find out that the hands of the last 3 kings has been replaced by a commoner. That cut deep. Hey, it's the 1,000 slices of death, right? The 1,000 cuts. And he was very condescending. And I was here for all the shits. I was here. I wanted him to actually go a little bit further, but we just, I guess, ran out of time, and we got to connect.
You got to just a little bit, only a little. But I wonder if he's going to start being more. They're going to show him more being sympathetic to him because he does understand battle. Sir Criston Cole he's a great, fighter, and he was the one. And him, he almost got them jammed up and almost got a little bit of a little torched up a little bit by Bella
and Moon Dancer. Yes. Another great scene. Look, Sir Gawain really just wants to go get him a little bit of Cuddy Cat and
he's like, we just want to look in.
He wants to go drink some wine. He's like, yeah, y'all are camped out on the hard cold ground, but there's a tavern and a bar 2 miles this way. And just, and my uncle, my nephew surely wouldn't begrudge me that. And as he's sitting there, going on, Criston looks up at the sky and there's clouds passing over the sun. And he says, we are exposed. And at that moment, you see a dragon circling. And he's like, yeah, everybody that way. Now, okay. Bela on the dragon is so dope. I love it.
It is.
Sir, if it were me, last time I checked, dragon fire can melt wood. I'd have burned that whole forest down. There would be no forest left after I got done with that. I'm scorching everything. No more trees, no more grass, no more ghosts, no more gophers, no more Criston, no more Gawain, no more army. I'm fine.
They didn't have any archer arrows or no crossbows, and nothing even to try to take her off the dragon.
Right, that is true. The scorpion crossbows that are specially meant to bring down dragons, right? But more to the point, think about it. She broke protocol because last episode, Rhaenyra asked her to patrol the sky, keep your distance. We don't need any more mishaps. So she was just supposed to be kind of, like a radar, just seeing what's moving down below, reporting back from time to time. But as soon as it's funny in the episode, the moment her dragon Moon Dancer like looks to the right, and so she was like, she looked and she was like, "Yep, there they go, right there. There they go. Let's get them." And so she broke protocol in her anger because remember, this side killed her. No. They didn't kill her husband to be because she's betrothed to Jace.
Jace, yes.
Right.
Her little sister, the one they sent to Pentos, is the one that was betrothed to I think it's Jaehaerys. That was Jaehaerys, I think.
Yes. No, that was that was
no, that one.
Rena. I'm getting my. If you know what, if they'd stop naming everybody similar to each other, we'd have a lot. Man, no misinterpretation of who the prince who was promised was, what prophecy was. We got okay. So hold on. Bela is betrothed to Jaehaerys.
Jaehaerys, and then the other one, the one that has. And Braina was the one that was to. He had like a regular name.
Luke, Lucerys.
Luke, yes. And they call him Luke. Lucerys, but they call him Luke. Yes.
Yes. So on behalf of her sister, her never would have been brother-in-law, and her fealty to her queen, she really was thinking, she was about that life. If you remember last season, they had to hold Baela back from beating down somebody at that dinner where Aemon made the toast to the strong boys, right? And insulted them all. Baela was also the one who threw the first punch in the cave when Aemon lost his eye. Baela's about that life. Never get it twisted. She's about that life. So her riding down, beating down on them with that dragon, like I said, I'd burn the whole forest down. But also then what did she do? She went back to report. Right. And so Rhaenyra was like, maybe it wasn't them. You were too high to see. And she was like, I wasn't so high, you know. Right. I was right on that ass. I was right on that ass. But she was able to report that they're on the move. The army is on the move.
So then we basically are at the cutthroat beginning of the war. The War of the Dragons is here.
It's here.
Fully.
It's here.
And I mean, then, one last detail that was a little bit different than in the books, and I wonder how this is going to flip out, is her sending the 4 eggs to, well, she sent 2 small dragons to the Vale, mm-hmm. and then sent 4 eggs to Pentos, to Essos.
Mm-hmm.
So are these the same eggs that we get later on with Daenerys? Or
yes.
Are they?
Yes, they are. And so she sent the 2 fledgling baby dragons to Jane Eyre of the Vale, who had asked for a dragon, and Rhaena, the Daemon's other daughter, the other twin, not Baela. She was feeling a kind of way about being sent away from all the action, but Rhaenyra was like, "No, you might have the biggest job of everyone. Like if it all goes to ruin here, which we know, you're the keeper of our future. These are the last of the eggs that we've harvested. This is it of the dragons. You are going to be the mother of dragons." So I thought that was dope. I feel like she could have showed Rhaena a little bit more stepmotherly love, stepmother/step auntie. I'm not sure how
it's both.
Right. But she had to still do her duty as queen. She said goodbye to her babies. She sent them off with Rhaena. And also to real quick, Rhaenys and Corlys might be the most stable relationship we know, right? It's a fantasy relationship, but they might be the stablest motherfuckers we know as a married couple.
I mean, will they be stable still after we find out some other more details, or has she been cool with that?
I don't think it's that she's cool with it. It's just part of it. I mean, so we were also that's all we know about it. Period. Next statement. We were also formally introduced today or this week to Ulf.
I don't know which one. I just always say Ulf, Wolf, whatever.
So we've met 3. We've met Ulf, Yulf. We've met Hugh Hammer, and we've met Adam of Hull. And mm-hmm. You mentioned last week you can't wait to meet Nettles, right? So for those of you who may not understand what that means, they will become hugely important here in the next few episodes. And dragon seeds are bastards of lords that the lords don't claim. And some of them have Targaryen ties, which is why they're called dragon seeds. Some of them have abilities, some of them have capabilities, but we've met 2. And one is Ulf, the other is Adam of Hull. So
and Hugh Hammer, and we met Hugh Hammer when he was with his family.
We did meet Hugh Hammer, yes. So remember I said a couple of episodes ago, there's no character that the camera can linger on for more than 20 seconds without them being inconsequential. If the camera lingers on somebody that you've never seen before for longer than 20 seconds, tuck it in the back of your head. So that's
it's a real person.
It's a real person. So pay attention. There's a lot more to come. And also, can we talk about the brothel scene? We got to get out of here without bringing that up. Set it off. I'll follow up with you.
Yulf he's in there with his friends. He's telling everybody like, hey, yeah, I'm Jacaerys's he's my grandfather.
He said my grandsire.
My grandsire. So he is basically
Jacaerys. Jacaerys was his grandsire. He claimed he was the son of
it's Daemon and them's brother, right?
It's their daddy, Balon.
Yeah.
So Balon was the father of Viserys and Daemon. He claims he's the bastard son of Balon, who we never meet in the show, right?
Yeah.
Because he was dead before King Jaehaerys dies, which is why the choice of successor came down between Rhaenys and Viserys, right? Because Balon was dead already. He would have been the obvious choice. He wasn't here no more. So he claims he's the son of Balon. And, he's like, yeah, my nephew is the rightful heir to the throne. And the guy sitting at the table next to him was like, yeah, well, here go your other nephew coming through the door. And it was Aegon, right? It was Aegon with his frat boys and white cloaks, the Secret Service, right? Trying to get their squire some new, right? Get him initiated. And listen, I've heard people say that, there's not enough nudity. And, I'm glad there's no nudity and not enough nudity. But this episode just upped all the ante, and the first behind, I'm just like, wow. And Aegon is talking about all the different ladies in each of the rooms, and he's going down one by one. And yeah, her name is something. She's worth triple the price. And he snatches back that last curtain, and it's Aemond snuggled up with his boo thing.
And it's weird because I believe Balon didn't even get that old for him to have a kid. I mean, he got older, yes, but I mean, he died just as the regular some regular disease.
Correct. He had a bunch of kids, and then he died. He didn't die in battle. He just died. Yeah. I think he just died. So yeah, but in that moment, you see how it affected Aemon to have his brother ridiculing him in front of his preferred lady of the night and all of the squire, the guards. His brother is basically laughing at him, and he's like, yeah, all these years later, he still came part from his first and only, and and you can kind of see he does a very good job of masking it, but you can see that affects him. And if you remember in season 1, he bullied him even then as a young boy. When they gave him, even some of their half brothers / cousins, whatever, they gave him a pig for a dragon because he hadn't claimed a dragon yet, right? They were making fun of him, and then he stood up and showed all of his dragon, and like, yeah, you can have anybody you want to, and I'm up out of here. So it's just another dimension to Aemond and his brother, and you can kind of see the fracture, right? You see the fracture that has been kind of widening since season 1, but very interesting. We can't leave out the brothel scene.
Yeah, no, because it's so funny but then he tried to do the old, fuck that bitch. Like when you thought y'all can have her and do whatever y'all want to.
Yeah, sure.
Knowing he hurt.
Oh, to his soul, he is hurt. But at the end of the day, he can rest on, I claim Vhagar. Can't nobody fuck with me as long as I have Vhagar. You can taunt me. My brother can taunt me. He can think little of me. Y'all can laugh with him, but I can really just burn you to a crisp also. So watch your tone. Pipe down, everybody.
And Vhagar, that's the nuclear weapon. Is him.
A living, breathing nuclear weapon. Yes. So very interesting episode. I'm excited to see how many episodes are there this season? 8. So this was episode 3. This was setting the table. This was lining all the pieces up, because next week I was talking to my daughter, and she's like, I want to see some dragons fighting this episode. And I did too. And now looking back, this was very meticulously laid out. There will be blood next episode. Absolutely. They got to move along the timeline, the continuum, and I think it's going to be a wild roller coaster ride for the next 5 episodes.
So, so do you think how close do you think they're gonna go to the books with these battles? Because it's some nasty stuff that happens, like in some real cruel ways that people get taken out, and I don't know if they're gonna,
I keep saying I defer judgment. I defer even speculating because I don't know. And there's so much they can do with the content. There's so many ways they could go. They can stick to the storyline. They can, and they have divulged from it and they've stuck to it. But we know that time's running out for some of our very favorite characters. Mm-hmm. And we've only got 5 episodes and maybe one more season. And it's going to happen at a rapid pace from this point forward.
Yeah, it's going. Look here, y'all. Everybody can get it. Like this is. I know that's how Game of Thrones is built, but this one's even worse. I feel like this is even worse than the regular Game of Thrones series. Like I felt like this one is way more wide open. Like seriously.
I agree. Because this was a physically there were fewer pages in this Dance of Dragons. Was Dance of Dragons? I can't remember. It's been a long time. I've read a lot of books, right? I feel like the content was more succinct with this than the rest of the books in the series. Mm-hmm. But it's jam-packed. A lot happens in a really short period of time. Like from the time that Viserys dies till the Dance of Dragons is done, I want to say it's like 3 years.
Yeah, it's only 3 years. It's super short.
I may be wrong. Somebody can fact check me, but it's a really short period of time, right? So very, very interesting. I'm sorry. It's not because people grow up, people die, babies are born, but like they only tell it. Who's the author? Who's the storyteller? Mushroom. Correct. Yes. So very interesting chain of events covering a lot of content in a very short period of time. So.
Oh man, we are gonna wrap it up. It's gonna be exciting next week, y'all, and we'll be back next week with some more.
Happy 4th, everybody. Be safe. Take care.
Peace, baby.